And she said, I'm tired. And he said, please let me go. And she let him go outside to play in the snow. And she fell asleep. And 2 hours went by. When she woke up, 2 hours had passed, and she looked around and she thought, and she didn't see her baby boy, and she ran outside and started calling Eric, 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 Eric. And she didn't get an answer. She called 911, and there was hundreds of volunteers and first responder rescue workers came out, and they began searching for little Eric in the snow. They went out 2 by 2, and they searched and they looked for hours trying to find little Eric. And they came back and said, ma'am, we're sorry, we're gonna have to call off the search. It's dark now, and we haven't found your son. And the lady said, well, I don't have much education. I don't know much about how y'all are the experts and the professionals, but can we just try something my way? Please just try this one thing my way. And they said, okay, ma'am. And she said, I want everyone to join hands. And all of us, we're gonna walk together. Let's everybody just join hands and just walk together, please. And they said, yes, ma'am. They knew the woman was distraught, and they all joined hands, and they walked out together. They went out, and it wasn't long before somebody said, I think I see something. And at the bottom of a ravine, they saw the little boy lying there, and they formed a human chain, and they lowered down and brought the little boy up, and they handed his lifeless body to his mother. And she took him and she kissed him and said, Eric, Eric. And Eric wouldn't respond. And she looked up and she said, you know, and they said, we're sorry. And she said, yes, but you know, if we'd only came together a little sooner, I believe my baby would still be alive. If we'd only gotten together a little bit sooner, my baby would still be alive. And there are a lot of things in our society like that, that we would only come together. And I hope we don't have to say a little bit sooner, but the gun violence, the violence in our schools, the killings, distraught people. Some people said about this past election, if we'd only came together a little bit sooner, Donald Trump wouldn't be in the White House. And I keep telling our people, you know, stop being mad and stop doing those things that he did. You don't want to watch the inauguration? That's the same attitude he had. Somebody's got to win, and somebody's going to lose in politics. And in our community, if we only come together, we can win. I'm going to bring Kathy Garthright. She's going to welcome everyone this morning. She's one of our anchors at One Nashville. And following her, we're going to turn the day into the hands of former Vice Mayor Jim Schulman, who is going to lead our panel discussion. Thank you for being here.
Good morning. Welcome. Am I supposed to do a prayer?
You may.
Wow.
It's a real one now. It's got to be real.
No,
It's got to get an answer.
I'm not Baptist. I was raised Catholic. So the only thing I can remember from my Catholic upbringing is bless me, Father, for I have sinned, which I know I have, but haven't we all? So, pardon me. Amen. Okay. So welcome and thank you for coming out here on a cold Saturday morning. We did change the time from 8 a.m. to 9:30. So yeah, could I get an amen for that? So it's a little bit better. But again, we're all here to try to make a difference and work together in whatever ways we can, find our commonalities. And I really believe in One Nashville, and I think we can make it a lot better than even a lot better than it is right now. So with that, I'm going to introduce Jim Shulman, former vice mayor. And
So good morning, everyone. So a couple of things to do before we get into the program that deals with General Hospital. I'm going to move the Holy Bible a little bit.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing it myself.
Instead of me touching it? Oh. Every week is a challenge, it seems, in this world and in this country. And this week was no different. It's just it's an interesting time, particularly in the world of government and political science and other things. And I teach now political science to freshmen at Cumberland. And one of the things we do is I make them bring in news stories, and we talk about them. And so we're actually engaging in what is known as civil discourse, with the idea that things are safe. It's a safe space, and people can say what they want. And it's interesting to watch the students because I think they're starting to get the idea that they can actually bring up their positions, but other students can bring up theirs, and the whole idea eventually through the course will be to see if they can work out their differences and come up with solutions that work. So while we spent a lot of time on Tuesday, because we had Monday off, talking about gun safety, red flag laws, other things. And then Wednesday happened, and we had the shooting at Antioch High School. Or it may be, I think it was Tuesday. Maybe it was Tuesday night. And these things keep happening, and they're just very, very sad. But there was a lot of discussion by the students about how we deal with this. And I think they're starting to understand that we've been trying to deal with this for many, many years and have not been successful. And as we get older, we're passing the torch over to these folks, and they've got to figure out how to deal with it. Or maybe together we all do. But if you don't mind, I'd like to take a moment of silence to remember the victims at Antioch High School, and remember the families that were impacted, the students that are impacted, the teachers and staff impacted. Everybody, we're all impacted in some way. So if you would bow your heads for a moment of silence, thank you. Right, thank you. One other thing, I was listening to Pastor Fuzz tell the story, and I may have told this story in here, but just in case, it happened, I've told this story yesterday, or 2 days ago to some of the students. And it's the story of the man with the red bandana. And some of you may know that story, man with the red bandana. Okay, man with the red bandana. You can watch it if you get YouTube. You can just type it in, or type it in on your Google search. A man on the red bandana was a 23-year-old who happened to be in the South Tower on 9/11. South Tower was the second building hit, but he had always wanted to be a firefighter like his dad, but he was actually a stockbroker. He was in the South Tower, and without giving away the whole entire story or what he did, he always shared a red bandana with him, and with the smoke in it, he put it over his head, and then he found the open stairwell in the South Tower. A lot of the stairwells had been cut, but he found one, and he went and found people and started getting them off the burning floors, and got them downstairs, and took a whole bunch of people down about 20 stairs, he saw firefighters coming up, gave the people he was bringing down to the firefighters, and then he turned around and went back up to save more lives and didn't make it out. And so the story is about a young person who's 23, 24 years old, who took action in a time of crisis, and instead of leaving, actually went right back up. And the whole story is about this kid and what's happened since then. And it's, Pastor Fuzz, what I would say is, in a time of crisis, in a time of difficulty, remember that there are people out there that do amazing things and make things better for all of us. And so we just have to keep working on doing good. So that's my preaching for the day. I know I see a couple of folks in here that are elected officials. Judge Todd is back there. Hey, Judge Todd, how are you? We have former council member Mina Johnson back there. I'm looking for other elected officials. Well, I'm going to introduce her in just a minute. Councilmember Berkeley Allen is here. Did I miss anybody? Commander is not elected official, but we're glad you're here. He's always here. He's out of uniform, but we'll allow him to be here. So thank you. Thank you for what you do. Yeah. Okay. So today's topic is the future of General Hospital. Okay. And although it would probably take longer than an hour and a half, Pastor Fuzz said we could keep here people as long as we wanted to, but that's not fair. We're going to try to get out of here at 11 o'clock. We're going to do our best to discuss the issues from several different angles while still allowing time for questions from people. All right, so just a brief history of General. And this came from a number of different websites, General Hospital website, City Inc., a number of places. I was just kind of getting a general, kind of a very quick synopsis of General. Nashville General was opened on April 23rd, 1890, as the city's first full-fledged medical facility. 60-bed city hospital, as it was known, cost $30,000 to build. It's located for years on Hermitage Avenue. You know, if you know where Nashville Children's Theater is, it's kind of up in that area. It's not where Children's Theater is, kind of across the street closer to the river, but that's where it was. 1998, the hospital was relocated from Hermitage Avenue to the former Mary Hubbard Hospital building on Albion Street. With the relocation, the facility partnered with Meharry Medical College, one of the nation's oldest and largest historically black academic health centers. Nashville General now is the primary index teaching hospital for Meharry Medical College. Nashville General operates today as a licensed 150-bed academically affiliated community hospital. Where's Mark? Oh, is that right? Still 150 beds? Licensed beds, okay. Hospital's mission to improve the health and wellness of Nashville by providing equitable access to coordinated patient-centered care, supporting tomorrow's caregivers, translating science into clinical practice. Building is now more than 350,000 square feet, stands 11 stories high, houses inpatient, medical, surgical, obstetrical beds, 24/7 emergency department, a full complement of ancillary and diagnostic services, 22 ambulatory specialties. Hospital provides over 35,000 emergency visits, 7,000 discharges, 550 births, and 40,000 outpatient visits annually. So I remember when General was up on Hermitage Avenue, and it was really known for its trauma unit back then. Very successful trauma unit. So anyway, we appreciate everybody being here, and we're going to get started. Our panel members, Dr. Webb was supposed to be here, and Dr. Webb, the CEO of the Nashville General Hospital, but sadly, unfortunately, he's had a death in the family, so he will not be here today. But Mark Brown is here, you're the COO of General, so you're going to be taking his place. Reverend Dr. Gordon Jones is here. Where's Dr. Jones? Am I missing him? Oh, he's not here. Okay, well, Pastor Fuzz will be playing the role of Reverend Dr. Jones.
Evan Green can fill in.
Okay. Are you going to fill in for him? Sure. Okay, well, good. Okay, so you're going to be talking about the structural impact, the building itself, the engineering part. Is that okay? I'm just kidding. Yuri Kunza is here. Mr. Kunza is here. He's the president general Greater Nashville Area Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And our own Metro Council member at large, Berkeley Allen, is here. Berkeley's on the budget committee, understands one of the things that I would always say about Berkeley is that when we get into hard issues and deep issues and need understanding, I don't trust anybody more than Berkeley because she actually does her homework and understands these things. Okay, so here's how we're going to proceed. We're going to start with Mark Brown, who is going to talk to us about the future of General Hospital, including any plans for a new facility. If you haven't read the paper, there was a big article in the Tennessean that Dr. Webb was talking about unveiling his plans today. And many of us have seen some of his plans, but he was talking about it. So that's what's generated some interest in this discussion. So we want to know about the future, including plans for maybe a new facility. And then we're going to turn to the pastor, who is going to talk about the engineering facilities, but he's really going to talk about kind of the impact of what the future plans are going to be, and whatever you want to talk about in terms of that. And then to Yuri Kunza, thoughts of the impact on people. That kind of concept. How does it impact people in Nashville? If we move to a new facility, or what's going on with the existing facility. And then anything else, obviously, you want to talk about. And then Councilmember Allen, what does it mean for the city? Because obviously the city puts money into General Hospital. What does this mean? What are the needs of the city? How does it impact that? City's budget, overall health of the city. So it's kind of a general discussion. And then we'll see what kind of questions pop up. Keep your questions in mind, depending on our time. We'll kind of open up to the floor, okay? So, any questions with any of that? Everybody good? Okay. I said about 8 minutes each on the first part. You don't have to take the full 8 minutes. You can take 2 minutes, whatever. I'll time it. As long as you go back and don't tell Dr. Webb. I put the 8 minutes in because I've heard Dr. Webb speak, and I needed to find a cutoff point. I'm not saying he does a bad job, but he talks for a while, and I was scared that we wouldn't get out of here by 11. Nobody else would talk. Just kidding. So anyway, 8 minutes, I'll time it. If you see me get up from here, that means that your 8 minutes are up. And with that, Mr. Brown, you're recognized. And you can come up here, or you can stay there, whatever's easy.
Jim,
Yeah.
the ladies' lounge is through this door, make a left and a right. Through this door, make a left and a right. The men's is through this door, straight back.
That's it. Okay, good morning. Former Vice Mayor Jim Schumer says, I'm Mark Brown. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Nashville General. I've been there for 10 years this month. And so I think in order for me to tell you where we're going in the future, I guess I need to start with what the past, how we got here, right? So that way people will know that we just didn't come up with an idea or concept and laid it out there 2 months ago. This has been a journey since 2018. The foundation actually started the search for land. The foundation was given authority to look for land from our hospital authority board. And so Vernon Rose, who was our executive director at that time, went out and started looking for land. She found 5 pieces of land that would fit that we thought were decent parcels of land for a new hospital. We took that back to our board, and the board said, okay. They debated on which land was going to probably be suitable for a new hospital. And then once they made that decision, COVID hit. And that delayed everything, right? It stopped the whole process. And so we got through COVID. I went back and looked at the board minutes. And so in 2020, around September, October of 2020, the new hospital come up again at the board meeting. And the board chair asked where were we at on the process. And so one of the board members made a recommendation to give the executive team authority to go out and explore what it would be like to get a new hospital. So we did that, and we met with Mayor Cooper at the time, about the new hospital. And I know we met with the mayor probably no less than 3 times about the new hospital. A couple of times he came to the hospital, and then the last time we went to the mayor's office with the plan. So what the mayor asked us to do was to start over. And so for whatever reason, he didn't feel like the information that we had was relevant. So we said, okay, we'll start over. So we started over again through the process of searching for land, building a case for a new hospital. So we hired, at this time, we went out and we hired an owner's rep for the organization to help with the feasibility study and the different studies that we would need in order to build a new hospital, right? So we did all that work, and then we went back to the mayor, and the mayor says, okay, I want you to go to the stakeholders, and these are the stakeholders I want you to go to, and I'm not going to call the names, but there was like 5 major stakeholders that we had to go to. We met with 4 of those major stakeholders, and a couple of them we even went to meet with their other executive teams, and we sat for about an hour, and everyone was, they didn't, first of all, they were wondering why we were meeting with them to tell them about a new hospital that we're building. But one particular organization, which is the largest in the United States, shared with us that if we need anything as far as information or anything like that, they would be willing to do that. They just wasn't going to give us any money, right? And so we met with them. And so once we finished meeting, we went back to the mayor, and then the election happened. And so it was sort of put on hold again. And so that's where we've come to. So we've done 2 feasibility studies. We've got mechanical and engineering to look at the building that we're currently in, and it would cost just as much to rehab that building as it would be to build a new building. The problem that we have is if I close the OR down to renovate the current OR, then I wouldn't be able to do surgical cases for about 18 months to 2 years, which is not good. Or if I was going to do the ED or the emergency room, I don't have any what we call swing space in construction. I wouldn't have any swing space to set up another ED to take in patients. So all those things impact revenue. So those are the things that we looked at. And then you still got to look at your overall infrastructure. The campus that we on is a college campus. It's not a medical facility. So you got like water, you got power, all those things are college grade environment. And so you really want a medical grade facility or a power plant that is designed for hospital use, because there's things that like instrument cleaning and all that stuff. So at any rate, we had all that done. And in the last feasibility study that we had done, they outlined all that stuff of like why it's not good to stay. So the board made a decision that it's time to go, that we need to start looking, and that's what put us on this road that we're at now, moving forward. So the hospital itself, and this is what most people don't understand about hospitals, right? The hospital itself will generate revenues, but it depends on the service lines and the capacity of the hospital to be able to render certain care to that patient population, right? So I'm going to give you one good example, is our cancer center. We and let me preface this. I was an X-ray tech for 38 years, and so that's all I did for 38 years until I arrived in Nashville. And when I was in Georgia, we had a cancer center that we had, and we farmed out some parts of the cancer center. But the hospital decided that we need our own full-fledged cancer center, right? So that way we can take the patient from the beginning to the end of care. Right now what we do is we do all the workup. So if you come in and you found to have cancer, we do all the workup on those patients. And then we have to send them to someone else to finish their treatment up, right? And then once they're finished their treatment up, then they send them back to us. That's not good. That's really not good, great care for the patient. So when we build a new hospital, what we're looking at is like connecting all the dots to make sure that the patient receives the best care possible. And these things are all revenue generators. So it's not like it's going to be a loss leader. If you're found to have cancer by either pathology, and that's through lab results, or through imaging, X-ray, CT, MR, then you qualify for Medicaid rather. You qualify for Medicaid, right? And so those patients then become paying patients. And so then you start to generate revenue off those patients as they go through the system. And so the biggest thing for us in the new hospital is not to be in a vertical tower. You want to be in a horizontal tower, right? 2 to 3, 4, maybe 4 floors at the most, right? And you want to make sure that the services are set up so that way they're more easily, you can be more efficient. Like right now, we have 2 floors on 2 different floors. We have the OR on the 3rd floor. The ED is on the 1st floor. And so with those inefficiencies, it makes it hard and it runs up costs because you're trying to cover so many different areas that you don't have all your resources pooled together to use your economy of scales. So it's really important that the hospital be built in a certain way, like ambulatory surgery needs to be next to the operating room for inpatient, right? All these things are things that you have to think about when you build in a new hospital. And that's what the design in the future of the new hospital will provide for the patients or the patients here in Davidson County. So I know that there's talk about we only have 30 patients in the bed, but really at the end of the day, there's about 45 to 50 because what most people that are not in healthcare doesn't understand, there's a thing called observation, right? Those are patients that come in through the ED. Have I talked that long, Jim? Yeah. Good Lord, I'm just getting started. But they say give a preacher a mic, he'll talk all day. But at any rate, the point is that those same patients that are observation patients, they don't get just shoved in the corner and not being taken care of, right? They still need care. They still need nursing. They still need food and nutrition. The EVS still has to clean their room. All these things have to happen still, regardless of how many patients are that are in the hospital. So with the new hospital, we will have a state-of-the-art HVAC system and all that stuff. Thanks, Jim. Any? No.
Oh, well, we're trying to hold questions to the end. Is that okay? Good job. All right, thank you. 8 minutes goes along, it goes pretty quick. Okay, unless you're politicians, it's like we just blow it off. All right, so Reverend Dr. Gordon Jones is here. And so what I did was kind of go through just a brief history of General. And then we knew Mark Brown was going to speak about General. So what we were interested to hear from you is kind of, I don't know. Pastor Fuzz told me that some of your members go to General, right? So the impact, just kind of the impact on the community as a whole based upon future plans. Now, we know where General is right now, and we know what General is talking about, and that is moving someplace, and we didn't get that far. But moving to a new facility, how does that impact the overall community? That's what we're looking for you. And then I will say that Pastor Jones is at Riverside Chapel Seventh-day Adventist Church, right? Okay? And you've got 8 minutes, and when you see me stand up, that means that you're supposed to sit down or push me out of the way. All right?
Hey, thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. And I thought I had about 15 minutes to warm up for service today because I'm going to preach in about an hour from now. But I'm happy for the opportunity to share. I am here not as a service provider, a person who is employed by the hospital or anything. I'm just a regular citizen or resident of this area, and I pastor a church. I personally witnessed what gentrification and growth can do for the impact on healthcare. Before I moved here, I was in Austin, Texas, and we had a similar boom in growth. As a matter of fact, it's interesting to hear the comparison each time I walk down the street is Nashville is compared to Austin. Great comparison, good music cities and everything. That's why I relocated here. But I personally saw the impact of growth, gentrification on healthcare. I know there's a lot of focus on housing, but I believe that one of the greater impact is really on healthcare. And I don't have enough time to expand on that. However, as we decide to move towards building a new hospital, the question is, what is the vision for that hospital? And how can the mayor's office influence the vision that would reflect our best interests? Healthcare in the United States, sadly, it's not a right, but a privilege. Even though healthcare should be a right for every individual. It's a human right. And I know we don't want to talk about it like that, but pharmaceuticals and everything have made healthcare in this country, a first world country, a privileged entity or privileged thing. And so what is the vision for the hospital? How can individuals, you and I, just ordinary residents, people we serve, bring to bear a little pressure on the mayor's office to be clear about what that will be like? Why? Because if we don't do that, we will have a building but not serving us. We can have a building, great building, but we still have to pay for health services somewhere else. And we've seen that over and over in the country, where cities create buildings, but we're still not benefited in terms of real healthcare service. So that is one thing that I think we should address, and one thing I want us to really focus on. The mayor said to me directly that he has an influence also over the hospital authority board, because he has the privilege given to him by the residents here and the voters to appoint the board. Now, very interesting, because the board influences the decision of the hospital, okay? We all agree on that, right? Therefore, the appointees are very important, that they should reflect our best interests and our desires. Something that I noticed that we have to avoid, and we have to be careful that we protect the hospital authority board from a conflict of interests. We might not want to talk about that, but the mayor said that is something that he is aware of. What is a conflict of interest? I want to talk about that because I'm very concerned about that. A conflict of interest is where an individual's either interests, relationships, family, social interactions can influence decisions on their position. So if there are regular conflict of interest, so if you're sitting on any committee, any board or anything, there is a conflict of interest, because something might come up where you are interested somewhere else. That's a normal conflict of interest. You can literally remove yourself from a decision that would pose a conflict of interest. Are you still with me? Okay, so, I'm a preacher, so I want interaction. So, you can remove yourself. So if there's a decision, for example, if I had a trucking company and my company was, supposed to be moving earth from the new stadium, and I'm sitting on the board, on the decision to companies hired to move the earth, and I have it's a conflict of interest, and I have to declare that. I said, well, I might push on my company to get the bid, right? So I can remove myself from that. That's a normal conflict of interest. Nothing is wrong. You can serve on a committee having a conflict of interest. The challenge is when there's an inherent conflict of interest. When it's a permanent conflict of interest, you'd have to remove yourself from the board, because everything, so imagine not only I'm the guy to move the earth, I'm the guy to put the drywall in, to put everything that has to do with that stadium, I have an influence somewhere in that line. I would not be a healthy person to sit on that, because I could influence decision for my own personal benefit. And there are positions now open on the hospital board that we have to be very, very careful and encourage the mayor to look objectively of who we will appoint to serve the best interests of all the residents and those who will serve will be benefited from the hospital. So again, my 2 points is, as I said, I don't work for them. I have no vested interest. I have witnessed personally. I've seen members, parishioners, disciples dying in my church in Austin because of gentrification. They had to relocate, and once they moved, the services that they had, the healthcare services, they could not afford them where they were, or they could not get them where it was before. So we have to protect against that. And the second thing is we have to look at who are being appointed. Are they able to influence the board in such a way that our best interests are at heart? Thank you very much for your time.
He got some practice in. All right. Thank you, Pastor Jones. All right. Next is Yuri Kunta, who is the president of the Greater Nashville Area Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, longtime major influencer in Nashville, and I think a strong believer in people and what people need. So, welcome.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. I am very honored to be here. We were supposed to be here, I think, 2 weeks ago or so. I'm just going to give you some thoughts about this issue. It feels a little awkward for me to be here in front of you speaking about perhaps what you may expect me to speak about, which is the Hispanic community. We have taken a beating in the last few days, as you may know, and for different reasons. So I will say, first of all, I have a memory of when I first came to Nashville in 1992 to have to visit, not wanting to go, but had to go to General Hospital. And I think my community relates to that. That's the last person you will likely to be seen or wanting to go to a hospital. I don't know if any other community suffers from this, but I think we feel that we are immortal or we're never going to get sick. And because our jobs are a priority, and sometimes we become negligent about our healthcare needs. And I hope you understand. Those from my community that have a job, and I think the reason why they may be here, and they are here, actually, I'm certain about that, is because there are job opportunities. And those job opportunities, jobs that need a workforce. And we are, I think, very important. I think the backbone of the growth and success of Nashville has been also thanks to the hands of those from my community that were part of the workforce and helped build it. But if you have that job, you cannot risk just losing it because you take a day off to go to get seen by a doctor. But it's so important because we cannot neglect the segment of the population who is making things happen. And I'm not talking just about the Hispanic community. I'm talking about every member of the community that is important for that. And for that, you need to have a trustworthy healthcare, accessible, and hopefully affordable, because that's also an issue. There is a misconception about members of the Hispanic community that don't have money or can afford. Everyone here from my community is playing a role, doing something, working on something, serving a purpose, and is very happy to spend what is necessary to get that health restored for themselves or to a family member, a loved one, even a member of their extended network. I know that. And we need to believe also that unless you know, you cannot just judge people on the surface or what you hear or read somewhere. I just wanted to say that because we have taken a beating, not just these few days, but for a long time now. And the reason why I got involved in advocacy, even though I guess I didn't have to or I didn't really need to, is because I saw something that I knew was wrong. I knew it wasn't accurate. And I knew that if there was an opportunity to give in a chance to say something or speak out, I am willing to. Why not? And I think it's just the right thing to do. So important things is, I don't know if it's here or is there, wherever the new location is. I just trust that this takes place and it becomes a destination for those who need their health restored. As I said, it is important to our economy, right? But it's just the right thing that you need to wish to your fellow man, right? It's not, we shouldn't be even debating this. Access is one thing. Affordability is another thing, right? I think those two things can be improved. This city is a great city, and this is my home. I've been here 33 years. I have spent more than half of my life in Nashville. You're my family, really, now. And I know you care. So it's not just the ones that are here speaking to you about what should be right for our neighbors, no matter what color they are, because I don't care. Latinos with their businesses, more than 2,000 businesses in Nashville alone, they create jobs also. They help our local municipalities. They improve our communities, of course. But they are also your neighbor. It's on you now. So take action, use your voice, participate, learn, because unless I am somewhere, because I could be really at home and I could be resting from a few days in DC trying to advocate for comprehensive immigration reform these past days in an environment that is just hard to believe I am in. But I thought it could be done. And even though the temperatures or the circumstances that we face and the rhetoric that we heard, and knowing that the next few years are going to be tough for all of us, well, I'm glad I did. But today, for instance, I could have been at home, but I wanted to be here not only because I appreciate so much my good friend, Reverend Enoch Fuss, that we ended up being at the same time at General Hospital once a couple years ago when I got my appendix taken out. I didn't know I was going for that. I had a stomachache and I thought, well, maybe it's just, a bug or, a flu, something. They're probably going to give me some pills and let me go home. Well, they told me, you can go home if you want to, but there's no solution for what you have. I went to General Hospital because I wanted to see how it was. How is that? Because it was many years since I've been there, and I wanted to see how you get treated. I wanted to know if what people say was right or not. I wanted to have the experience. So I did that, and then I was staying 5 days because my appendix ruptured also. So it could have been very serious. It could have been, maybe it could have cost me my life, maybe. I don't know. So I'm thankful to my community, to this community, to you. But I just tell you, get to know, be involved, participate, and make your voice heard. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Yuri. All right, before we get to the last speaker, Judge Stephanie Williams came in. I saw her pop her head in. There she is in the back. There she is. And any other elected officials came in when I wasn't looking? I would say that I do need to recognize one other individual in here who is the key to making a lot of things in Metro work. Whenever you've got a problem, this is the person that usually shows up. John Honeysucker is in the back. Raise your hand, John. Let me repeat that. If you want something done in Metro, that's the man right there. Okay. You should be writing his name down right now. So I'm going to ask you 3 quick questions based upon what Yuri just said. I was just writing, when he was talking, I was listening. And it's just a quick survey of the audience. Do you want this country to be better? Anybody doesn't want it to be better? Everybody on board? Okay. Second question, are you willing to work with people to make it better? Yes. Anybody not willing to work with anybody? Okay. And the last question is, assuming that everybody voted yes, why don't we do it?
Amen.
We'll move on. Question for the next program. All right. Our last speaker is a council member at large, Berkeley Allen, who I've worked with for many, many years, even before she was on the council. an excellent individual who knows her stuff. Berkeley.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here and speak on this very important subject. I want to start with saying that Metro Council, Metro Administration supports Nashville General Hospital 100%. It is such an important part of our city's healthcare options. They are specifically charged with ensuring that people who have no place to go always have a place to go there, but they also provide excellent health care to the Nashville community at large and their neighborhood community specifically. So it is very important for being there for that, and also is serving as the index hospital for Meharry Medical College, teaching our next generation of physicians to give excellent care. They have some amazing, innovative things that are not available anywhere else in the city. I'm so impressed with the food pharmacy that Dr. Webb was instrumental in putting in place. It provides healthy food options for people so that they, when they leave the hospital, rather than going back to whatever lifestyle put them there, that they are making lifestyle changes and getting healthy food and can take that home with them and start on a better path. And they've also done a great job now of relocating clinics out in the community so that people can access them more easily, which was one of the issues that was spoken about by our previous speaker, is being where the needs are so that people can access them there, which also has helped provide what we've talked about in having paying patients to enable the hospital to better serve the patients who are not able to pay. My understanding is that currently that mix is about 40% non-paying patients, 60% paying. You can correct me if I got that right. So that's a bigger burden than any of the other hospitals in our city cover. And in a second, when I talk about the history, I'll explain why it's important for them to be in that role. So as Jim mentioned earlier, the city moved the hospital from Hermitage Avenue to the Meharry campus, which at that point was Meharry Hubbard Hospital, and merged those two, and General now leases that facility from Meharry. And that move was, at that time, a way to increase efficiency and also to provide a closer access for those students. That facility has been updated once since then. Much of the equipment is near the end of its life, and that's part of what has driven this entire study of saying, how do we ensure that this is an excellent facility that provides excellent care for the people that are there? The city supports Nashville General, as I have said, but I will say we have not always come up with the capital that is needed for it to make the changes to stay current. We have, over the course of the time that I could find records for, put about $20 million in capital improvements, which have been helpful, but it's not the amount that's needed to help them stay an excellent facility with up-to-date equipment. So an important part of that history was, I think, a well-intended but not totally informed recommendation in 2014 to switch to a totally outpatient form of service. And we learned in a hurry as a council that was totally inappropriate recommendation, and unfortunately had devastating effects, as Mr. Brown can attest to, just in terms of instability and loss of very capable employees, and then COVID hit after that on top of that. So that is something that we've got to continue to help them recover from with capital, not just with words and thoughts, but with capital and support. From an operating standpoint, the city has provided a subsidy that's been part of our plan from the get-go. It was about $30 million in 2008. It's now about $50 million a year, which we provide, and we are committed to continuing to provide to ensure that, so their operating budget of about $115 million. I think they're paying patients put in around $50 million. Metro's now putting in around $50 million. And then there is state and federal money that is available to Nashville General as a safety net hospital. When we made that ill-informed recommendation, we said, the other hospitals can take care of those patients, but that money is not available, and we lose the potential to provide good care to people who can't pay for their services, and they need to be provided good health care as well. So within that context, the topic that we're talking about today of what is the future of Nashville General. I will say our city moves slowly, as was outlined by the fact that we've done study, and that study is looked at by one administration, and then a new administration comes in and asks for another study, and I understand the frustration with that. I will say, as a council, as we make decisions about the future moving forward, we will be very interested in seeing the information that's available in those, not asking to start again from scratch, but at least being able to learn about the cost of renovation versus totally new facility, so that we've got that information in our hands as we make a commitment. In speaking with Mr. Naramore, who's the Chief Financial Officer, he has told me that we should be spending at least $5 million a year in capital expenditure and there was 1 year when we did that. A couple of years where we gave $3 million, but we have never consistently done that. So as a city, we need to commit to a steady source of capital funding that enables you just to keep up with depreciation. You know that equipment becomes outdated and things like that. So we have supported that, in bits and pieces. We gave $1 million for new electronic medical health records, which I think is important and helpful. That's a drop in the bucket. We know that. So there's no question that need is there. We are well aware of it. To put it in the larger context, Metro as a city has a $3.3 billion operating budget every year. And of that, about 1.3 is educating our children. So that's 38% of our city budget goes to one of the most important things we do, which is to ensure that our children receive a high quality education. Then other big chunks are public safety, as the officer who was here earlier can always, and talk about how the important things that we're doing well. We're not doing all that perfectly, but we're working on it. And then just general government, things like codes, metro planning, the trustee, the things that make the city run, getting your garbage picked up. Another big chunk is debt service. That's paying for things like libraries, community centers, fire halls, the pieces of our community that give us places to go and gather as a city. And then the last thing is infrastructure, again, building our roads and things like that. So of that big chunk right now, about 5% goes to health and social services, which is still millions and millions of dollars every year that we spend. So as we consider our options of how we can best support this important hospital for us, we will look at that within the broader context of other things that we do that make the city run, that make people safe and educated and having a good quality and standard of life. And we will look to the officials of General to provide us with that information so that we can make decisions. I will say, budget season is in full swing right now. So now's the time to, again, come to us with those immediate capital needs as well as the long-term plans. But the more information you can provide the council just in terms of how those decisions have been reached from the general's perspective, that would be helpful to us in terms of any discussions that need to be had with Metro. So just to recap, I'm just going to recap. I was, again, say we absolutely support this hospital. It is a fantastic medical home. They are committed to giving patient-centered care, which is better than just emergency room-driven care, and that's going to make Nashville a better city. It is also important, again, to keep the Index Hospital for Meharry and to ensure that that is a healthy partnership between those two entities, that they can work together, they can hire physicians that work together, they've got a good professional services agreement so that rents are paid and physicians are there and students are trained and they're can create the next generation of physicians, as I said. So the city supports that. As a council, we support ensuring that Metro General continues to grow and to thrive. And as we make decisions going forward, we're just asking for detailed information, but we want to make a commitment to ensuring that we do a better job than we've done in the past. So thank you for the opportunity to be part of this.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Allen. All right, so here we go. I'm going to have one more round of questions, and then we'll open it up to the audience after that. And here's the question. We'll go back in the same order, 3 minutes, because we're going to try to be out of here by 11. And it's two basic questions, okay? And I think I know the answer for the first one, but I'm going to ask it. First question from the panelists are, after listening to all this and after all your thoughts and so forth, do we need a general hospital in Nashville? Okay. That was for the 4 panelists. Yeah. So I want you to answer yes or no. Because what I'm doing is, I was a council member 20 years ago. This issue, the issue of what general should be and the funding mechanisms and things, it was there then. It's still there, and we're still trying to figure this out. So, do we need a general hospital? Okay, Jessica says yes, so we'll take her word for it. And here's the second question. Assuming that we do, what does it need to be for this community? Okay, so we're talking about future plans. What does it need to be? And if you don't know exactly, that's okay. How do we go find out? So, and then how do we fund it, I guess would be the last question. So those are the second question is longer than the first. The first one is yes or no. The second one was, how do we do this right? What do we need and how do we make this happen? Got it? Mr. Brown, you're first.
Use that one, Mark. Everyone take some.
Okay, the first one is, yes, we do need a general hospital. And then the second one is, you said, how do we fund it?
Well, just if we do need it, what does it need to be? How do we make sure that we...
So as far as what we believe is that it needs to be a full-service hospital. And what we mean by that is we don't want to provide partial services and then have to go out to get other services from other organizations, depending on the availability that they have for patients that we take care of. And so we want to take care of our own patients because we practice medicine a little bit different than the rest of the hospitals in Nashville. We don't practice sick care, we practice well care, right? And so we want our patients to stay healthy. Even when they leave the hospital, we're still in contact with those patients and providing care for those patients. I think someone mentioned the food pharmacy. We still provide, once that patient is discharged from the hospital, we still provide food and touches for those patients, classes for those patients to come in to make sure that they stay healthy and stay out of the hospital. That overall reduces the cost to the hospital and reduces the cost to the taxpayers. But I'm a Davidson County resident, and I like to keep my taxes low. So I wanted to make sure that we take care of the patients in a way that they are not going to access the emergency room as their primary care provider. What was the last one, Jim? And then how do we fund it? The way we fund it is just like I said, by providing a full-service hospital that has everything that the hospital needs, like any other hospital. You know, I've been probably 15, 20 different hospitals throughout my career, and this is the first place I've ever been where it's fragmented care. That you don't have all the services that are needed for the patients at the hospital, that you have to go out and purchase from other institutions. I've never worked at a hospital like that in my entire career, and I've been doing this for 44 years. Okay, so the triple aim is put out by the IHI. And what it does, it looks at per capita costs, trying to reduce per capita costs, looks at patient satisfaction, and then it talks about population health. And population health is just what I just talked about, right? Keeping those patients out of the ED, keeping them out of the hospital so that way we can take care of them. And then providing excellent customer service. So you're scored on your customer service and how well you do treating patients. And I think Yuri talked about that. And then it also talks about how do you reduce costs, controlling your costs to make sure that you're not overspending needlessly on things that you don't need. So it's a real focus type structure that we have in place at the hospital. And the triple aim, which is really the quadruple aim, is our strategic goal for the hospital.
All right. So then I'm going to ask Pastor Jones to come up. I think, again, the second question is a catch-all. It's, and I guess the way I would say it is, the answer to the first question is yes. But we stay in the same place or move or whatever. We've been working on this for a long time. How do we make sure we do this right?
So quickly, yes, we do need a general hospital. And I want to just say something on the yes. A part of the charter here in Nashville is that the city of Nashville provides care for indigent. It's a part of the charter of the city. If that doesn't happen from a public source, then it has to happen. The cost to the taxpayer is going to increase because it's privatized. It's just, and this, I'm not making this up, you can Google that. Thanks for Google and AI, you can research that. So it is, unless we change the charter, we have to provide care. And if we don't do it publicly, privatization of that will increase the burden on the taxpayer. The second question was, what is the future of that? Personally, from the people I talk with, the people I serve, we want a hospital that is a full-service hospital, but also one that continues the partnership with Meharry as a teaching index hospital. That's just how we view it, and that's the people who I represent and the people who I serve, that's how we would like to see the mayor and the city approach that. Because both institutions are important to us, you know, and I don't want to get into the history of that. How do we fund this? Hey, I don't know, increase the tithe and offering. No, this is how we fund it, I think, and just being facetious on that. I think the way we fund it, if the hospital is a viable institution, a viable entity, if it's providing great care that people want to go, people will pay. Some of us can pay. As a matter of fact, I heard that it's currently now like a 60% paid and 40% you know, subsidized. So think about that. If it keeps being a viable institution, a viable entity, then that could go up to 80%, 20%. So how do we do it? Make it good, make it great. If the fried chicken is good, it sells.
All right. Mr. Kunze? Yeah.
Hey, my take is no different to what we heard already. I just want you to know that our organization, which is 25-year-old now, has recently, and historically, healthcare companies joining. And I would say, of course, we definitely need a general hospital, but we also need to realize that there is a market that within our Hispanic community that you need to take advantage of if you want to, and just make it accessible, affordable. I think that's important to me for anything. It's just like any business, right? You wanna choose where you spend your money, and for our, I think it's about close to 14% now of Nashville's population. Of course, I don't wish anybody to get sick, but we will eventually get sick and need healthcare services. And my community is getting them somewhere, right? And if they cannot have access to, because of where is it located or ways to get there, if there is not an outreach in place, if there is not, if the perception it is that the services are not the best, or if it's too expensive there, then there will be factors that will influence where a consumer goes and chooses where to spend their money. So it's just like probably for a topic for a longer discussion. I just want you to count on that segment of the population that it's here and will continue being here. And just anyone that may need healthcare, I want it to be accessible and affordable in wherever possible it is, because access to healthcare should be, it is a right, it's a human right. Anything else? No? All right.
Okay. Last but not least, Councilmember Allen.
So the answer to the first question, yes, we do need Nashville General Hospital without any question. Second, what should it be? I'm going to read from their mission. The mission of Nashville General Hospital is to improve the health and wellness of Nashville by providing equitable access to coordinated patient-centered care, supporting tomorrow's caregivers, and translating science into clinical practice. I went through and printed out the missions of all the different hospital systems in Nashville. because I had a feeling that the Nashville General was going to have the focus on equity that I was expecting, and sure enough, it did. But as well as patient-centered care, which I've talked about, and supporting tomorrow's caregivers. So there are a number of important pieces of that mission that we absolutely have to support and ensure that not only does it just continue as it is going forward, but that it thrives and grows. And that's gonna require investment. Again, as I've said, from a city perspective, we've got lots of hard choices. There is never enough to go around. Nobody likes it when we say we need more revenue from the citizens. So we've got to be creative in how we make that happen. I think the suggestion to do full service so that there's more revenue, also to attract more paying patients is a piece of that. And then the city simply needs to be supportive of the capital needs, regardless of how they're spent, and to ensure that the operating subsidy that we have committed to giving, that we continue to give at the levels where we are now, and to grow as those are needed.
All right. One last thing before we get started. I was trying to write down notes, and then I started just thinking about it. Obviously, I've heard Dr. Webb's presentation before about a new facility and the ideas of where it might be and what it might look like. It's very, very interesting. And I think that at some point, we may, when he's able to come back and kind of just show it, because you have billboards, you kind of get an idea. Because somebody mentioned the idea of it doesn't need to be it's an 11-story facility right now, needs to be more horizontal, okay? So those things are important. We have, if we had longer and full range drill down discussion, how many other hospitals are there in Davidson County and what do they do? What is needed in this community? What do we actually have to have? What is missing? What are people finding difficulty in getting those services? Who is using General Hospital? And one of the things that somebody just mentioned, it may have been Yuri, about the transportation efforts, about citizens getting access, because we have a large city, and how do people get to a facility, a hospital facility, if that's what they need? And then Councilmember Allen was focusing on this, how do we pay for it? And how does it work? So lots of good questions, lots of things that we have to keep thinking about as we get further along in this discussion. All right, so questions from the audience. We got about 15 minutes, yeah. And Courtney, if you don't mind, just say who you are, just so everybody knows who you are.
Okay, my name's Courtney Fulham. I've been a member here at Nashville Inception. And being a foundation member, there were some very important things. I wanted to make sure to talk about that.
Hey, Courtney, I'm talking to Pastor Fuzz. Can you come up to the microphone so people can hear you? I think we're recording this anyway.
Take it to everyone else.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
You'll take it to other people.
Okay.
Because you went first, you got a job from Pastor Fuzz. Way to go.
Okay, all right. My name's Courtney Fulham. I am here, a deacon here at Corinthian Missionary Baptist Church. I am also a foundation member with Nashville General Hospital. Been Santa Claus for the last 9 years, so I'm grateful for all the things that I've got to do at Nashville General. But as a foundation member, one of the things that motivated me to be a part of the organization was what it does. So we spoke to the history. So my questions really dive down to what the hospital does. So first question would be, can you speak to what stands Nashville General Hospital and other hospitals apart from one another here in Nashville? Because I understand that Nashville General Hospital is defined as an essential hospital. And how many are there? Also, who does it serve outside of the indigent and the minority communities? And I'm speaking specifically to state employees because a lot of people don't know that Nashville General Hospital helps the state employees. And then lastly is, can you also talk more about the food pharmacy? Because that's so very important because other hospitals don't have this. And Nashville General Hospital also has a discount program for medications. So can someone speak to that?
All right, so this is so outside the panelists. Is that what you want? Or
I'm going to ask Mark or...
yeah.
Y'all got somebody here?
But we got somebody here who's raising their hand. That's why I was checking. Okay.
I'm Melanie Thomas. I'm the Chief Information Officer at Nashville General. I'm going to try to remember all of the things you asked. So I'll start with the one that's probably the most innovative thing that we do, which is our food pharmacy. And where it started is the concept of food as medicine. And so if we have healthier patients, that they're getting the nutrition that they need, they don't have to worry about what they're intaking, we can provide a healthier population. So we have a food pharmacy which basically prescribes the food that people need. So when we have cancer patients, we're providing them with foods that are fat and healthy and keep the weight on them. If we have patients with high blood pressure, it's low sodium. And so we are actually prescribing the things that they need. And so we're teaching them how to aid in their health care to really make sure that they're getting a well-rounded health care. What else did you ask about? Yeah, so we have a 340B program, and we are able to cut some of the costs that we have in the pharmaceutical space. So we have a pharmacy at Nashville General Hospital that the patients have easy access to with reduced costs that they receive. And Mark is in charge of the pharmacy, so he knows a lot more about that than I do. But we're also trying to expand having pharmacies at our outpatient locations, at our offsite locations, so that we can have easy access. So when you come out of your healthcare visit, you immediately go right to the pharmacy. You don't have to make a stop at Walgreens, or you don't have to make a stop at CVS. And what we also found when I came in about 10 years ago, patients were making several stops. So they would stop at City of Hope, and then they would stop at Walgreens just to try to find the cheapest medication that they could find. So that impacted their budget. And there was one other point, Courtney. Yep, so we have had a big marketing effort to provide state employees an easy access to care. And with the insurance that we have at Nashville General, there's no copay that's associated with that. And so it's an easier cost for them. And so we try to make it, so we've really, our clinics were born out of this idea that we wanted to provide easier access for people that are working to come in, and get out, because some of our clinics were more teaching, and so they spent a little bit more time, but we recognize as working people that we sometimes can go on a lunch break and get our doctor's visit done, and we can't always sit while we have residents trying to figure out and learn, and even though that's important, we have to service our paying patients as well as our indigent patients. We want to make sure that everybody has the care that they get, and that we're providing equal care to everybody. So having those programs where we can partner with the city and partner with the state to optimize their healthcare benefits.
And then also in regards to Nashville General Hospital, it is an essential hospital. There's literally only 150 hospitals in the United States that's defined as essential.
Yeah, so we are part of America's Essential Hospitals. We are set apart because of the care that we provide and who we provide that care to. So it's focused on, the essential hospitals are focused on hospitals that are supporting the underserved and really working on the social determinants of health and making sure that they have food, so they may be patients that have transportation issues or food issues, and so that we're partnering to make sure that we're caring for all of the patients. So that essentials designation are the hospitals that are completely focused on those underserved.
Courtney, you had so many questions. I tried to run them down. One of the questions I think you asked was Who's going to win the Bills Chiefs football game tomorrow? Was that in?
The Chiefs are going to win.
Oh, the Chiefs are going to win. Okay. All right. You got the microphone? Courtney, do you mind pass the microphone around? I got some questions. I've got responses or comments or questions in the back.
Thank you, Courtney. Listening to what Courtney was saying and the whole panel, I want to.
Oh, name, yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Reverend Fuzz, for this meeting. I've been coming to, my name is Monroe Simmons. I'm a small business developer here in Nashville. Born in Nashville, wasn't raised in Nashville. My dad was in the Army. We've been all over the world, served in Fort Sam Houston. Recently found out Mark Brown served in Fort Sam Houston when he was serving in the service. So to see this come full circle is a beautiful thing. Watching this panel today, Reverend Fuzz opened up with a story about a mother, and then Eric was his name, I believe. In the story, what I got, the mother could have saved her son if she wasn't in negligence and didn't go to bed while she let her son stay outside in the snow play. It was that it was, she put it, if we prayed and we wasn't too late, we wouldn't be in this situation. I'm feeling that story in this situation. What I mean by I'm feeling that story is we waited now we're here at the table pressing out everything that's so great about Meharry and saying if we all would have came together earlier, we wouldn't be in this situation. So I'm going back to put responsibility on ourselves and seeing where we need to start coming out. So when we get past this, what are we going to do 30 and 20 years from now to make sure we're not in this situation that he just said he's been dealing with this for 20 years past, and we still dealing with it with 20 years present. And it's even bigger than Meharry. We're dealing with this with TSU. We're about to deal with this with Meharry again, and Fisk, and all of our Black great communities. Why are we keep getting into this tail hole, this rat hole? And we're tired of asking for what needs to be known. I'm listening to how great Meharry is. We know how great Meharry is. We don't have to sell Meharry. It's common sense what needs to be done. And it just needs to get done. All this division, all these people walking against each other to see who's bigger, who's what. But we have a whole community out here suffering because we can't put egos aside. I have so many creative ways that there are businessmen like myself who want a partnership with these entities to make this happen. But we can stop where the money gonna come from. It's simple. There's a whole bunch of, I'm sitting up here listening to Dr. Brown talk about he's been to other hospitals, and the main common thing is, I can't remember the word he was using, but he doesn't have that main component that most of the hospital has. They're putting them in a disadvantage. Why don't we have that? That's common sense. 1 + 1 is always 2. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. And I don't understand why we're not putting these numbers together. I'm in a great room full of scholars, politicians, great minds, and we don't know what 1 + 1 is 2 is?
Well, I think your questions are legitimate. And so it goes to trying to figure out, to some extent, it is what it is. Where do we go? Where do we go from here? And how do we make this work? Does that make sense?
We make it work by thinking outside the box now.
Right.
We can't keep doing the same old thing expecting different results.
But Manora, what I would say is, some of us have been at this for a long time. It's really hard to get this stuff done, but we can't stop. And the question is, how do we take things like this and then push to actually figure out where we're going?
Well, I'm literally saying I'm here. I got some answers.
Yeah.
But because I don't have the credentials, I don't have the scholarship that y'all say I need in society to make a simple 1 + 1 2 work, no one will hear me. I've been coming to these meetings. I've been saying I have a solution.
All right, I know we got some more questions. Gentleman in the back, this way, Courtney. And then while you're talking, I'm going to ask Pastor Fuzz something.
Prayer?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Hi, my name's Dickie Leish. I don't do well in talking in front of a lot of people.
You're good.
But I'll gain a little confidence when I see Coach Fitzgerald up there. Wake up, Coach. Good to see you, my friend. I would just like to ask Mr. Brown or Ms. Courtney there, when you talk about continuing services, you stabilize someone, then you have to send them off. When General moved over here years ago, I think Governor Bredesen was the thing. Has there been any deal with any other hospitals, Vanderbilt, that y'all wouldn't do certain services? For example, your trauma unit. General used to be the #1 trauma, like Councilman Schulman said, 30, 40 years ago. And all of a sudden now it's not a trauma unit. I think Nashville is big enough, or getting bigger, to have another level 1 trauma. I think Skyline is a #2 level now. But has there been any agreement that, like for children, I think y'all can only see children and take them only so far, and then you have to pass them off to Vanderbilt. So are you restricted in your growth because of agreements by other hospitals? Was that ever done? And then the other question is, I think y'all have 2 vacant floors over there, and they were going to be used for COVID when we had the COVID crisis. Drugs in this country, in Nashville, are huge. And I think that I saw Dr. Webb the other day, and he told me that y'all have a new behavioral person that's coming in and going to expand. Yes, psychiatrist. But billions of dollars are getting to fall out of the sky for drug treatment. The opiate crisis, I would like to see General be a huge impact in Nashville. A lot of people will say, well, we're not going to General, where it's located or whatever. And I tell people this. People found Church's Chicken on Brick Church Pike. The NFL found Jerry Rice at Mississippi Valley. If you're good, they're going to find you. Let's get good.
Thank you very much.
So I just want to answer your question. Number one, we don't have any agreement with any other entities that says that we cannot do any additional services. Our services are limited by the providers that we have, and who we're able to see is limited by the providers that we have. And some of that is a choice. So annually, we do strategic planning, and we talk about where we're going to go next and what we're going to pursue. And so if the community is telling us, let's go after behavioral health, or let's go after drug treatment, and that's something that we're going to consider during our annual strategic planning or during our quarterly updates to that. So I'll definitely take that back. And then we are a level 3 trauma center now. We got that designation a couple of years ago. And as we continue to grow, we will go through level 2 and then potentially level 1. But a lot of that comes with money. We have to have certain equipment. We have to have certain physicians and providers round the clock to achieve those designations. So that's where we have to figure out how to make that work. Oh, Mark has something.
And also to answer your question for the new hospital, the vision for the new hospital is to have a behavioral health unit, because we know that behavioral health is a problem within the United States, right? So part of that campus would be to have a behavioral health unit on it, and then to build out the new hospital at a level 1 trauma center. So those are things that are in that vision, that are in that packet that we've done as far as the vision for the new hospital.
Excuse me, Courtney, let me just cut in because I've got to leave, but good morning to everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. God bless your hearts. Thank you so much. Now remember, The hospital, I served also as part of the hospital on the hospital board. But let's remember what Dr. Webb, I think it's so important to follow leadership. Can I get an amen there? And so Dr. Webb has a plan, a holistic plan for our health. The hospital has one of the only pharmacies, food pharmacies. And I make it my business to bring a box of sweet potatoes every day, or at least once a week. But what I'm here today to just announce to you that we're getting ready to have a senior summit at the church. It's to address some of the issues that senior citizens that are 50 and over, CNs are going to be there, which is part of the hospital. But let us remember what Dr. Webb is recommending for us. If we follow the leadership and the plan that he has laid out, I think our job is to support him. I thought about it coming over. I said, well, maybe we need to get everybody that has had service at the hospital to meet down at City Hall and tell them we want a new hospital. That's one way we can do it. And then the other way, we can increase that 3 million to 5 million. Can I get an amen there? 5 million, yes. It's at 3, but we're talking about raising it up. All right, okay, 5 billion, but my point is raise it up. Because if we say we are a city and we're concerned, if you're not healthy, if you and the children aren't healthy, they can't go to school, they can't go to work. If the adults are not healthy, they can't go to work. We're talking about a health issue here. Now, are we going to put a stadium before the health? You won't be able to go across the one where they be able to play. So let's prioritize this. Let's commit ourselves to support the new project that Dr. Webb has planned for us. And let's make some space in our place for the hospital. God bless you. And remember, take one of these and...
Yeah, when is the summit? The summit is when?
February the 21st.
What time? 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at
Mount Lebanon Missionary
Baptist Church.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So it is 1 minute after 11. I have obviously failed in my attempt to get us out of here at 11 o'clock. So how many people still have questions? Three. We're going to end up with those 3 questions, and then we're going to have kind of a four. Four. Okay. 4 questions. We're going to try to keep them short. And then we're going to have a conclusion, okay, which is going to explain how we continue on with this conversation. Go. Short questions, please, so we can...
It's a quick comment. My name is Flora Yukoli. I have lived through 6 teaching hospitals and medical colleges in my lifetime, either as a medical student, a resident doctor, or professor. So what I'm about to say is medical school, medical education is not a new thing. I don't know why Harry and Nashville General Hospital are behaving as if they are the first people to run a medical school along with a hospital. So you always have a teaching hospital or a practice hospital that works with a medical school. And there are always agreements as to what the doctors on both sides do to make the system run. But as they say in the place I come from, that's Nigeria, when 2 elephants fight, the grass suffers. In this case, the grass is the patient, the medical students, the faculty and staff of Meharry. So long as there's confusion up there, there will be a lot of confusion down here. So if everybody wants a new hospital, what I suggest is let this current one be a Nashville General Hospital. Then you now get a Nashville Specialist Hospital. And then these 2 things will work with Meharry in such a way that the doctors that Meharry hire to teach and the ones that they hire to treat will work together. That's the job.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody.
Oh.
Hello, everybody. I'm Yolanda Hockett. First of all, I just wanted to commend the executive team of Meharry General Hospital. I think you all are doing an outstanding job. I also want to ask, after listening to Dr. Webb in another meeting that I attended, he said that land was going to be needed to build the new hospital. So, and if that's the case, have you all had the opportunity to look around the city for some possibilities of some land to build the hospital?
Mark.
Yes, like I explained in the beginning, we started in 2018 looking for the land, and we did identify land around the city that the city owned. And then once we did that, we went back, we took it to the board. The board agreed with us, and then we met with the mayor, and the mayor said, no, 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 no. And then we hired another person that actually works for the city that looks at land throughout Davidson County for the city. And so he came back with the same land that we had identified, right? So we paid someone to do what Vernon and I did. And so we have asked for land, the city. So what the mayor has shared with us, the current mayor has shared with us, what he would want to do is use the same process that we did with the criminal justice juvenile system. So that's what he's doing. He's setting it up so that way it will have stakeholders throughout the community that sit on the board that will make the selection for the land. So that's where we're at currently.
Okay. Thank you. Next question.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Good morning, panel. My name is Arol Jones, and I'm just a Nashvilleian concerned citizen. And I'll tell you, I love One Nashville because solutions come out of One Nashville. Solutions really do. We have solutions about the real estate that came out of One Nashville. We have some solutions about what's going on with the way the city of Nashville makes money, come out of One Nashville with what goes on downtown at the all the bars and how they all work together, how our economy works together under our tourism, and how they even have their own account for the tourism downtown. There's a conglomerate of the people concerned. Well, Nashville in the Davidson County is the #1 mecca for medicine. We have more hospitals than anyone. We have more of the medical scene than anyone. So I think what Meharry needs is, what's happening with Meharry is perception. We need to reverse the perception. And that 40%, if we could have all of our hospitals put a percentage, that's a percentage of their profits to go into covering this 40%. And matter of fact, make that 5 million, 10 million, so that they can make Meharry General a prestige, reverse it from it being from the bottom to the top, make it the top. Make it the prestige for the city of Nashville, for the state of Tennessee. Reverse it, perception. And the money's there because this is the mecca for medicine. And if it's the responsibilities in the charter that Nashville has to do this, then those mecca Vanderbilts and Baptists and everybody that's got all of it are required to foot that bill. They are required to foot that bill because that's how this region makes the money. You go somewhere else, you go down to Houston, it's oil. Here, it's medical and entertainment. That's how we make money in Davidson County, Nashville. So what we need for those who are making the money in the medical field, to put some money in Meharry.
Okay, one last question, and then we're going to stop.
Real quick, Joel.
I'll try. Good morning, everybody. Real quick, I'm going to go ahead and let this out. To God be the glory. I live in Antioch. I'm a graduate, but also I'm going to get to the part at hand, just giving a moment for our survival for this city. We're all here for a reason. And to my brother that said this and everybody that's there, one thing I'll say, when it comes to Meharry, General Hospital, both, when it comes to that, we're actually preaching to the choir. Everybody here has already a connection. We already have hope. We're trying to figure out how to get to this. And then, so I'm going to tell you, I'm speaking for myself, okay? Because I have a different approach. All right. My brother, thank you so much for speaking. It was sort of a leeway to where I'm coming. It is a vital, stable part of this community. I am from here. I was born here, raised in Bordeaux, been a part of this. As far as general goes, I'm going to give you my testimony. When I was a student at Fisk University, I'm a student. How much money we have? And I found out that I have endometriosis. I need cone biopsy. And they let me go or sent me over to General Hospital. Lo and behold, they fixed me so good, I had my first child. My son was born at General, my oldest. He went on to be a U.S. Marine. All right? My grandmother, I was born in 1966. When I was born, I didn't have my grandmother. Why? Because she passed in housekeeping at General. Okay? So it's not nothing new, which we have spoken. We have been fighting the fight, and we're going to keep fighting the fight because it's a stable part for this community. As a teacher, as an educator at Antioch High School, where I'm an alumni as well, where my kids graduated, where we're fighting for this day as we breathe, okay? All of that to say is my daughter, she teaches at Cane Ridge. They were just on lockdown, but she's also a graduate, not only of University of Tennessee, but of Meharry Medical College. She was at the hospitals at Meharry until she decided to teach this January at Cane Ridge. This is a vital, vital part. We already know there are hundreds, thousands of us. Either you were educated, or you were a patient, or you were a doctor. It doesn't matter. They're still serving. Back to you said something about the food pantry. Food pantry. We volunteer. I know my closest is at Christmas. We give gift baskets to the community of healthy items for patients and families. At Christmas, Santa shows up there for all the kids in the community. The patients, people to smile, to feel God's love. Dr. Webb, I was here also when he spoke. So eloquent, but he has a plan. We don't have to reinvent General. We just have to update whatever it is that they require. The whole demographics is here for the city, for the importance of the Jefferson Street connection, Fisk, Meharry, TSU, for a place where people can come regardless of how much change is in their pocket. Insurance, federal, city, that budget.
I think you got most of it covered.
Yeah, just go ahead and give a new proposal. I'm with him. And go ahead and do inflation up to date because guess what? Just ask for it. It's entitled. We need it. I'm a patient there now. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. So to close, two things. First of all, will you join me in thanking our panelists for excellent presentations? And then two, I've had discussions with these two people sitting to my left. The idea of One Nashville is good, solid discussion. That's what we've had today. But it's also not to drop the ball, okay? That's what we were talking about last year. And so the idea is let's keep talking about this one. And so what I would ask you to do, if you're interested in serving on kind of a committee that keeps looking at this issue and then may bring it back to One Nashville, Jessica Williams has agreed to take your name and your email and your phone number, and we're going to pull people together to keep talking about it. If you're interested, if you want to be a part of a continuing conversation, go see Jessica, turn your name in, and then we will bring it back at the next meeting and tell you where we are. Okay? Again, thank you. I'm going to turn it back over to Kathy.
Thanks, Jim, and thanks for moderating and keeping us all together. Thank you again for coming out today, this morning. It's good to see everyone. I hope to see even more people here, especially for such a great cause as what we talked about today. So let's go forth and do good, okay? Good trouble.
Doctor, you got an announcement. The Human Relations Banquet is coming.
No, it's February 10th, the 60th anniversary of Human Relations Commission.
We want to send some people to that. I got it. We got time. Okay. This is a good program.